Hello, friends. Welcome to Akulmach Live. And there is a new space race which is growing up very, very rapidly. Everybody is rushing towards the south pole of the moon. There is America. They have started their Artemis mission. There is China, of course. These are the main, competitors. But then nobody is leaving any stone unturned. There is ISRO. There is ESA. Even countries, small countries like UAE, they are aiming to send their man on the moon. I think there is much more which is happening right now, which is general public is not aware of. I can presume the race is for the resources, which is helium-3 and titanium. As of now, it looks like that because helium-3 is not found on Earth as well as titanium, very, very scarce products, and therefore moon has abundance of these two, especially on the south pole. Everybody is now rushing towards the south pole. So that is the aim. That is the aim of the entire global powers. There is a new space race which is emerging only to control the resources of the future, and we know that the petroleum will be depleted very soon. So that therefore the new new race will start in space, especially on the moon. I'm not saying that there's going to be a world war type of situation, but there is going to be a situation where people will like to go there first, establish habitable areas, habitable centers, which will then start basically grow into a much more elaborate factories to harness titanium and helium, maybe iron, maybe other resources which may be in abundance on the surface of the moon. Why these are required? Because of the future growth. Whoever has the power, whoever has the titanium will be able to build stronger, bigger, larger aircraft, spacecrafts for their future missions like going to Mars and beyond. So this is what it looks like. And however, today we will talk about the new methodologies that Chinese have developed for harnessing water. Before we proceed, let us look at how all of this will happen. So, I mean, all this in theory looks very nice. Humans will have to settle on the surface of the moon permanently, but there is going to be a lot of challenge, especially with regard to food and water. There is no water, there are no lakes, there are no oceans, there are no rivers on the surface of the moon. And you can't carry water from Earth because carrying a single kilogram of material costs a lot. So you have to do something locally. And also, so far, humans have lived on the surface of moon for like a couple of hours. But right now, we are talking about permanent settlement on the surface of the moon. That means we need to figure out the habitability. We need to figure out the food situation. We need to figure out recreation. We need to figure out gravity. Their houses, of course, water and air to breathe. So these are the things which are causing a lot of concern for the scientists. And in fact, as we speak, there are a lot of research going on in, generating the basic needs, which is creating an atmosphere and also generating water. Why this water and oxygen is required? Because obviously for humans, maybe animals, and also the plants, because when you want to generate food locally on the surface of the moon, you need to basically grow farms, do something like that. So things like that are very, very important, and this is why creation of water, creation of oxygen, breathable air is at the forefront of research and development at this point in time, because the targets have been set. The targets have been set by most of the countries, including, major countries like US and China, that is of 2027. They want to basically have a manned mission on the south pole of the moon by 2027, hardly 3-4 years from now. All right. So this is something which is major. Moving on, habitability has to be set up by the scientists. However, the plan is all these major agencies, which is NASA, Artemis, CNSA, which is the Chinese space agency, Roscosmos, which is Russian, ESA, and ISRO. All of them are working towards sending man to the moon In fact, on the 15th of August, Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, also announced that we will be sending a man on the uh, moon before 2045, or that is what the first 100 years of independence is. So within first 100 years, India is also set to send a man on the moon, maybe establish a permanent center, maybe a orbiting laboratory. So the competition is immense. Especially there are 4 to 5 major agencies which are working towards it. Now let's look at Artemis. We know that Artemis program is on. Many countries are signatory to it, and by 2027 they want to establish a moon mission. And especially the idea for Artemis 3, because Artemis 2 will go and explore the moon and the best methodology to go to moon. However, Artemis 3 will actually land with humans for a longish establishment of moon base. That was the idea of Artemis 3. So they will send men and women to the moon, and then these first explorer will identify which is the best place for settling down, and that is the state of affairs with NASA, which is their Artemis program. Now let's look at CNSA, which is Chinese Space Agency, and Roscosmos. Both have partnered together, and their plans are even more aggressive. They want to basically establish a in orbit permanent space station around moon. So the idea is that you can send the spacecraft, and there could be a staging happening in the orbit, and then selected people will actually then descend down on the surface of the moon, which is also a very good plan. I think it's a very good plan. You have a space station in Earth orbit, you will have a space station in the moon's orbit, and then it will create some sort of traffic and staging area. And over time, the space station can grow because you can build the space station in a modular fashion. Now, the CNSA and Roscosmos are also saying very aggressive things at this point in time, because they are pulling their resources together. They are saying that by 2027 they will establish the space station around the moon, which is going to be in orbit, and there will be people living there for a couple of months in this space station. We know that the world records have been set already in the International Space Station around Earth, that people are capable of living for 6 months, 8 months. So similarly, if there is a space station, there is a staging area, there is a habitable rotating laboratory around moon, people will be able to stay there for longer duration, and then as need arises, they can go down to the surface and come back. So that is a plan of CNSA and Roscosmos. So these are the two major initiatives which are going on. Now, there are initiatives by ESA, by ISRO. However, their respective countries have also signed up with Artemis. So there are at least 25 to 27 countries who have signed up for Artemis, and they are going to contribute by way of either financial help or actual. I mean, if you look at India and the European, which is ESA, they are capable of not only providing the funding, but also provide technology and people, trained resources for the Artemis mission. So this is where the state of affairs are at this point in time. Very exciting. This decade, by 2030, we will have something established on the surface of the moon. And I've already shared what could be the reason. It's basically a war for resources. It's going to be an effort for who controls the resource, who controls that resource-rich area on the surface of the moon. That is why there has been a renewed interest and very aggressive interest. All right. But all this is fine. How this is going to happen? We can't carry food all the time from Earth. We have to do something which has to be done locally. Now, in this regard also, there are a lot of experiments being conducted in the space station. Especially, scientists have tried successfully, especially Chinese, to grow potatoes in space. and they have been able to do that. Then there are American scientists who are actually experimenting with other crops to grow them in the space. The third initiative is to basically grow a very resilient variant of algae, which will serve multiple purpose. The algae will be food, can be converted into food, can absorb radiation, and also generate some sort of hydro based scientific, which is purifying your air, also generating water for you. So there are experiments going on. Not much is known about those because the radiation, the algae which can absorb radiation must be of purple color. Lot of research are going on. However, the answer is to grow food locally. That means you need to set up the farms, you need to create water, and you need to create oxygen locally. You don't want to even carry oxygen tanks from Earth, and because what happens if the oxygen depletes, then the astronauts or the moonlings will be stranded on the surface. There will be no help coming. So if you have a local system which will generate oxygen, then this is a self-sufficient space station on the surface of the moon. So a lot of experiments are happening. The Perseverance on Mars was sent with a small cube which could generate oxygen directly from the atmosphere. So it was an experiment. They have successfully proved that this cube can convert the carbon dioxide present in the Martian environment and generate carbon and oxygen, which can be which is breathable. So this is already being happening, but the quantity required will be huge. The quantity required for generating oxygen must be huge. So let me tell you that we are having this space station for last almost 5 decades, and the scientists have figured out how to generate the oxygen and recycle the oxygen. There are established methodologies, there are established machinery which is already put into the space for last 4 to 5 decades, and there's pretty much lot of understanding of what we can do to generate oxygen and also water. Currently in the International Space Station, which is in the orbit around Earth, 92% of the water is recycled. The 92% water when you carry from initially, there are people use it for drinking, and also they perspire, and then their excreta. All of this is translated into recyclation, and 92% of that water can be recycled. That means the requirement for bringing water from Earth is minuscule. Although there are resources which are continuously sent to International Space Station replenishing this. So scientists have figured out to generate water in space and also atmosphere, to create an artificial atmosphere in the space station. Some of these technologies can be replicated on the surface of the moon. However, if you want to grow farms, you would need a lot of water, you would need sunlight, you would need energy. It's not like people are growing farms in the International Space Station. That bit is not there. That is something new, and therefore the requirement for water is immense. You need to have a lot of water for drinking purposes, for survival, also for your crop. And that brings us to the main topic, which is there are a lot of research. People are doing all kinds of research. So Chinese method has proven that they can actually generate a lot of water on the surface of the moon quite cheaply, and they will not need a lot of processes to generate the water on the surface of the moon. All they need to do is take the dirt, which is also known as regolith, and heat that dirt for a certain period of time, like 12 hours at something about 1000 degrees centigrade continuously for 12 hours. The dirt itself will release water. Okay, so the estimate of the Chinese scientists is that if they process a ton of regolith, the moon soil or the moon dirt, and they can actually generate about 13 to 15 gallons of water out of 1 ton, which is quite immense. Almost like 40 to 50% of regolith can give you water by certain chemical processes. So now the question is how these processes will run, where the energy to create 1000 degrees temperature, a furnace which can cook the moon's rock for 1000 degrees for a couple of hours continuously. The answer is there are two things. One is you can set up these solar cells, batteries, etc., and generate the power. However, if you're planning to go on the south pole of the moon, then the situation changes drastically, simply because on the south pole you are affected by day and night cycle of the moon. So what happens is that there's 14 days, 14th Earth Day will be the sunlight, and for 14 days there will be total darkness on the surface of the moon. So for 14 days you can actually start making water, and using the sunlight directly from the sun, you can get some sort of, either use the solar cells which can store the energy into battery and then use it, or you can use these giant reflectors which are very low cost and quite lightweight. You can carry them on the surface of the moon, put them there and focus them on this furnace that you have built, and just cook the regolith, and over time it will generate lot of water, huge amount of water, and there are no waste, because the regolith which remained after that will be very rich in iron. So you can actually further process it later on to generate iron out of that. So this is a very promising experiment by Chinese. It looks like that using this method they will be able to give lot of water to their colonies, and they will not be affected by this 14-day cycle, even if they are targeting on in the south pole. Then they can have a process by which they can generate water for 14 days, and next 14 days they can go without generating any water, but then they can work out how much regolith they need to work upon, so that they will have sufficient water and they will manage using this cycle. The second option could be to set up your water generation plant in an area which will get sunlight throughout the year. So then you can use some sort of pipeline to get water to your colony in the south pole. So these are all future plans, but so far the results of Chinese scientists have shown that without carrying any resources from Earth, without carrying heavy payload from the Earth, you can actually use the common lunar dirt and generate your water, oxygen directly on the surface, and then you can power the entire colony, provide water for your cultivation, for your fields, for your harvest, also provide water to humans, and then obviously all of this will be recycled. So there will be a recycling plant which is already running on the International Space Station, so we have good knowledge about that. And if you have water, you can have hydrogen out of it, and you can also have oxygen for breathable atmosphere for creating that. So just by cooking the regolith, you will get a good answer for setting up a long-term human base on the surface of the moon. So friends, let me know what you think about this. Are you excited with this development? A lot of things are happening in next couple of years. Let's keep a watch on that, and let's let's hope that the humanity grows out of Earth and establish their first settlement on a body which is outside the Earth system. So friends, thanks for watching me live. I will catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.